She said they talked for 40 minutes.
They might have talked for more than that because she was giving him the energy he needed to face the world.
And she gave it to him because when he came in the house, he did not see it.
But I never heard him curse so much.
He had his titties
I said,
out.
whoa, yes, the shirt was open, but he was sloppy with it like, yo. Like if he had a hat, it would have been cocked to the side.
It would have been Ray J. It would
have been Ray J. He would have been enjoying like, I don't give a
Let's talk about Hannah and Nick. I want to say this because y'all was coming at me and all these things like that. I was absolutely correct about Hannah.
1,000%.
And what y'all gonna learn to do is listen to me because I'm very rarely wrong. When I be clocking stuff, even if I'm slightly wrong, I be right. I be right. That girl is ugly inside and out. She's so ugly. Her parents don't even like her like that.
And you could tell the parents is siding with the man, and they haven't even said anything.
And I don't give a damn if she lose a whole 180 pounds and become an inty winty teeny meeny human. It's not going to change how ugly she is on the inside.
Period.
The back is still big. It's still giving ogre, and she does not get that. So I wanted to talk about this because I mentioned this in Married at First Sight. Culturally, sometimes we come encounter with people and we think Hannah's been on her own for a very long time. Nick is the son of a Cuban woman and I'm guessing a white man, right? He could be Cuban.
Nick is a trust fund baby.
Nick is
for sure.
Culturally, though, it makes sense. Like the more I know that we all want everybody to be on their own. I get it. But when you come from a culture of people who don't believe in that for generations, the way that we've survived is living in the house with our, elders and raising, they raising us, we raising them, whatever the case may be, you would understand how he is still in his parents' home. And I think a lot of how Hannah talks to Nick is sheer jealousy.
It's rooted in jealousy.
And she wish she could peel his skin off and wear it.
Resentment. You don't even know this man and you resent him.
You don't even know him.
Just because he comes from a different background. And it has to be enough of that, really judging people and having a certain amount of disdain for people who just didn't come from the same background. I don't understand how we got here. Y'all don't live in a big world. Are we so incubated that we meet somebody that just grew up differently? And we talk down to them because they grew up differently. That's weird to me.
That is such a wonderful point.
I don't understand that. No, he didn't grow up like he didn't have to get it out the mud. And so what? Everybody not getting it out the mud.
Everyone is not getting it out the mud. And also, imagine what that life looks like for you, where you can come in and just be able to exist. Like,
yes.
A lot of people. I talk to a lot of people about this. Actually just had this conversation with Jazz. Like sometimes we miss out on the act of just existing, trying to create this world. And we want to be, of the world, but we can't do that and create it. Yeah. Sometimes you just got to be in it, right? And I feel like Hannah is upset with him because for some odd reason she's had to. And what it looks like, if I'm being honest, is that her parents, sometimes you can have children and you just don't vibe with them. Yeah. They're their own human. They become their own personality and that don't jive with whatever you got going on. And she had to figure it out. But like, I would argue that the way that she's talking about being on her own, she was not.
I wouldn't be surprised if she wasn't. Like you said, I think a lot more of her conversation than not is rooted in jealousy, is rooted in judgment. I can get with her that you want your spouse to be equipped to do certain things. I can be here with you on that. As a person, I've dated a person who, as an adult, I felt like you should be further along. But but the truth of the matter is they grew up in a privileged life. You know what I mean? So there was no judgment on that. They grew up in a place where they had handmaids and shit like that, and they didn't have to They didn't have to lift a finger. They grew up in a wealthy home. I did not. You know what I mean? I had to get out the mud. I was sweeping the floors of a barbershop when I was 16 years old. You know what I mean? They was living on you know what I mean? So it was just a different thing. But I think if you're coming at it holistically and respectfully, you're not talking down to this person because they haven't had to wash their own laundry. That's just their life. And that person that you're dating is not the only one person like that. So you wouldn't come across a person in the coffee shop and then start talking nasty to them because they've never had to take their car to get an oil change before.
Think about all the billionaire babies out in the world.
That part.
So what's the difference if he lives somewhere and his parents pays all his bills there versus him living in the house and his parents is paying all the bills? I
think you're I think that the truth of the matter is when you encounter these people and you treat them in a way that you have a disdain towards them, you have an unsettling in yourself.
Yeah, it says more about you.
Yep.
And the truth of the matter is, I can't go back and see anything that Nick did where I feel like he deserved any monicum of this. Because what is also clear is, despite the fact that Nick doesn't have all of these worldly things that you would want him to have, what he does have is decorum and manners, because he ain't called you a big back turtle, Ninja Turtle.
Let me tell you, I've gained so much respect for Nick since the first time I seen him in the pods, because
you look like a Ninja Turtle and you have the nerve, okay?
And I'm going to tell you this, as a man, I don't know where y'all would like to place Nick on the spectrum of good looking men. But it's none of my business. Okay. I don't even care. I know that him as an athlete has come across far better women. I know that for a fact. Let's not even go to the pro, because he likes to say pro.
But he was a D1 athlete.
Period. I was going to go there. Just being a D1 athlete,
which is massive.
I know the quality of woman that has thrown themselves at Nick, and Hannah is not it, but he continues to treat her with the utmost respect. And he continues,
despite the fact that she's nasty.
But this, not even the looks part. Despite the fact that she's nasty.
Like her spirit is nasty.
Because Hannah likes to make it like, oh, she's had the pick of the litter her whole life. No, you.
What? Of dogs? Of mutts? Maybe.
And almost like in comparison to Nick, like he hasn't.
But that's what I mean.
Nick was a D1 athlete in America.
Come on,
that's teeing him out to being that's
he is a
that's the closest
he is
thing
a bad
to the
bitch
NFL.
with blonde
That's
hair.
what I'm saying. What are you talking about? Like, but you're talking to him like, she's talking to him like, I'm the best thing that ever happened to you, which is crazy.
When she told that man, I took you from a boy
to it, but she keeps saying it, which is like, girl, who do
but
you
you
think
really
you are?
thought you ate, and you're really small. And the problem I have with this and what I'm seeing here is, for some odd reason, we have gotten to this point in our dating history, men and women, where now we're resulting to being nasty to one another and calling it honest. The truth doesn't have to be mean. The truth doesn't have to be nasty. You're nasty, but the truth didn't have to be that way. Everything that she is saying comes with, we get it. Anybody watching sis gets it. The problem is that you giving him an energy he never returns.
And that's what I was saying earlier with, a lot of times y'all miss the mark. It's not what you're saying, it's how you're saying it. Because truthfully, Hannah, really, I don't have any issue with a lot of the content of that she's saying. No. I can't. It's just she's nasty. Her delivery is nasty.
Even her little brother said she was nasty.
That's what I'm saying.
He's sitting up there like, yeah, she used to talk to me in the old kind of way too. What?
The delivery, the tone is everything, and especially with men. I need y'all to understand, especially with.
I be talking to men. You already know. I'm gonna say whatever I want. But especially stupid and you're dumb.
But especially with men, like it matters, because we almost have a negative disposition to hearing things in a certain way that we don't even hear what you say anymore. It doesn't even matter what you said anymore. It's how you said it.
I don't even think that's a man thing. That's a basic human thing. You know what I mean? I wouldn't even reduce it to that. I think that, one, you get more bees with honey. Point blank in the period. And I feel like the way that you're even speaking to him, I think sometimes we have been watching so much or listening to our single friends or whatever the case may be. But without partnership, we don't live in a 3,000 square foot home.
Right.
You would still be in fucking LA. That's just life. You know what I mean? So we got to keep it 100, right? So like, I think that like, we sometimes in the midst of us trying to be on our soapboxes, we miss the mark. Partnership looks so different. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, partnership can push you to places, and without partnership, I don't make the most money I've ever made in my life. I don't have the opportunity to do that, right? I'm sitting somewhere else. And I think that, like, we want to be so quick to denigrate someone and not realize that the power is not in one. I mean, like, one human. It's really in the conglomerate. It's in the union. That's where the power lies. We know that it's some stuff that he could be doing, right?
Of course.
And nobody even wants to baby him through that.
No.
But I also feel like the way that you are speaking to him is wild oats. Like, what the hell is going on over here?
It's crazy because also a part of doing partnership is understanding what's palatable to your partner, what they respond well to, what they don't respond well to. So if you know, which you don't even have to know them that well, most people don't respond well to a certain tone, a certain delivery, all of that stuff, right? That's a part of coming to the table and saying, I want to treat you how you want to be treated. I want this to work, right? I want to speak to you in a way that you'll hear it and not in a way that you'll put up your defenses. And Hannah, it's made it very clear that she's not interested in that. She made it very clear that she just want to say whatever she want to say, however she want to say it.
Yes, she deserves to be by herself.
1,000%, because that's a by yourself energy.
You
take it or leave
it.
When people say, "Oh, I'm not changing for anybody," I just immediately know you're going to be by yourself.
You're going to be by yourself
because you can't talk to anybody how you talk to how your friends or your coworkers or whatever. Your spouse is not going to stand for that.
Even her friends was like, "This is why it's so important to consider the source, y'all." Like, even her friends, when they all had the conversation with Nick, was like, well, you can't be doing that. They were on the, she tells them about the incident that happened on the resort where the woman was like, don't be jealous. And I'm thinking, y'all either have never gone on vacation with a man, because that happens more often than not.
Your insecurity is sky high.
Sky high.
Over this 70-year-old, you got to be super insecure.
It ain't even about the insecurity, Joe. We're all on a resort. There's been a plenty of times people have said something to you, said something to me, said something to the both of us. It's not that deep. People are looking for connection. We're in the middle of nowhere, stranded on a goddamn resort with each other, drinking up all the alcohol. Of course people are going to be talking and chatting and saying little things. She didn't say nothing crazy. She said, don't be jealous. She was kidding.
But not only that, you can't be this upset and turned around by this old woman.
It's no way.
That says so much more about you. I've had old women flirt with me, and Zar just laughs hysterically.
He had young women flirt with him. It's just not for me to be like,
what I mean?
It's just not my energy. Like, I am.
But especially,
it's not because of them. It's because of you that I don't act out.
But it's that part too. But it's also reading the room, right? Like, if we're, like you said, we're on a resort somewhere, we're on vacation somewhere, and some old man it's happened before. Some old man is drunk and he's, oh shit, your wife got up. I don't know if they said badonkadonk, but they said something. You know what I mean? Something old and cringy. You know what I mean? It was something like that. What I'm gonna do? Like, be like, oh, you was laughing when Mr. Ruckus said that you had a badonkadonk. Like, this says a lot more about you, and it's really ugly behavior because you ruined the whole day over this.
Yeah, over some
stuff. And now you're still talking about it. She's still talking about it. He might as well have smashed the old head. Right. She's still talking. I mean, it's like she's talking about it like they had a whole situation.
Yeah, for real.
Oh, you remember when you was riding a duck? Are you for real? Are you for real, Hannah?
She's really exhausting to me. And I feel like I am the girlfriend that will defend your right to be wrong almost all the time, except for when I feel like you're trying to be in relationship with your man.
Yeah.
That's what, if you're saying, Zara, I'm going to stay with this man, but he doing this and he doing that and da-da-da-da, I'm going to give you the real deal Holyfield. But if it's just like some guy you dating, I'm going, girl, I don't give a fuck about him. Listen, I'm defending your right to be wrong. But I do think that, like, her friends are obviously immature, and he's immature and she's immature. Yeah. The difference is that she is of this belief that she is so much more emotionally evolved.
Because she looks at his circumstance and she looks down on him.
But
so she feels like she can do no wrong in her mind because he doesn't do his own laundry.
But Joe, there's no way you meet his parents and not completely understand why he is where he is. One, we live in the DMV. Have y'all been to the DMV?
Right.
It's an expensive place to live. So, like, the idea that he will be home with his parents, do they take care of a bit too much? Yes. But the truth of the matter is, Obama set it up where we can get our insurance for till 26. People be on their parents' cell phones until they get kicked the hell off. That's not far-fetched. He's not the only person in the world who less than 30 or even, you know what I mean, or whatever, who's still on their parents' phone playing.
But also understanding the dynamic.
Right.
Of their situation.
Culturally.
Like, he was the football player in the family who had the potential to go pro. He's not the first kid who has been taken care of in the hopes that he will then take care of us.
Come on.
Right? So they obviously had projections of him going actually pro. Like when we say pro, we talk about the NFL, right? Not the XFL or the Canadian
wherever he was at.
Or the Arena Football League. We're talking about him actually going pro. Much of the time, the dynamic is we take care of you so that when you make it, you taking care of us. We just watched, if you're not watching right now, Starting Five is on Netflix. Anthony Edwards, who plays for the Minnesota Timberwolves, uncle is in his house today packing his clothes when he goes on trips. That's absolutely the dynamic of a kid, and he's a kid. Of a kid.
He is a child.
He's a kid.
And these women are taking full advantage of him.
And that is absolutely the dynamic of a kid who is now the breadwinner.
Yes.
And now the family members are like, but I'm sure that happened before he got drafted to the NBA. His uncle was doing his laundry.
Oh, 1,000%.
Because of the projection of he's going to the NBA. I'm gonna take care of him, so he take care of me, right? So
so nobody else take advantage of him.
Anthony Edwards don't know how to pack his suitcase.
He don't know what's
I'm sure
in
he
the
don't
suitcase.
know he don't know where he's going or when he's going there. He does not do his laundry. He does not pack his food. He does not make his food. It's watch the show. It's clear. It's called Starting Five on Netflix. It's Anthony Edwards. It's LeBron James. It's Tatum from the Celtics. But the dynamic of Anthony is so regular. Like if you've known some of these young NBA guys, it's regular, especially if you've known prospects, period, because it's not just the NBA. It's very clear that Nick had a similar dynamic where they're like, you're going pro, we're going to make your food, we're going to wash your...
I don't even think it had... I think his dad is successful. I don't think it had anything to do with...
But I'm saying that even if his dad wasn't successful, this is a very typical dynamic for somebody whose family thinks that their child is going pro.
But I don't even think it has anything to do with that. His mother is cute.
No, I agree. I think
it's fully cultural.
I'm saying that it's a common dynamic for people whose children are the projection is pro. Like it's a very common dynamic. Like you're not gonna.
The thing is, and I think my biggest thing here is that Hannah thought she was 8. She 8 being nasty to a man, and normally I would go there with her, like, okay, yeah, girl, girl power. But the problem is that to see somebody get denigrated in that regard constantly and don't give you no smoke. Yeah. And then but then when they went out to the party.
When he got drunk, he was letting
and the John was like, oh, he real good looking. He better looking than I thought. But that's your best friend?
But your best friend in the whole world, and she said it multiple times, you can't be for real. You just met this girl.
Did you just meet her? Yo, what's the background on that? Is that her actual best friend?
Girl all of a couple weeks. This is not your best friend.
This girl's not calling you.
She's not
her best friend.
Not sitting in front of your man face telling him how good he look and how she told him. I mean, I thought she was giving a pep talk of a lifetime. She said, "You are smart. You is wise. You is beautiful." I said, "She love him." Wow. I wish my wife wake me in the morning and say, "Listen, Joe,
it won't.
You is smart. You is tall. You is black.
I tell you, you're beautiful every day. Don't do that.
Every now and then. Most of the time, she like, you all right. You know what I mean? She's sitting in front of this man, giving him the battery to face the world.
Yeah, she did.
This not your best friend. Have you met a man?
But she said they talked for 40 minutes.
It probably.
I wish you would be in the bitch face for 40 minutes.
I don't have it in me. They might have talked for more than that. The truth of the matter is, because she was giving him the energy he needed to face the world. And I thought,
and she gave it to him because when he came in the house, he did not see it.
But I never heard him curse so much. I don't give a
He had his titties
I said, whoa, yes, the shirt was open, but he was sloppy with it. Like, yo, go back and watch he was sloppy with it. If he had a hat, it would have been cocked to the side.
It would have been Ray J. He would have
been Ray J. He would have been in that joint like, I don't give a. He was talking crazy. I said, he met one tonight. But that's what a woman who got your back would do to you. Because I'm in a world like that every day.
Whatever. No, Joe, really?
I really am. Like, I don't give a. Like, I'm in a world like my dad is Daddy Warbucks. Like, he's rich. I be talking crazy. But I think that's what a woman who really believes in you, they'll put a battery in your back. And that's why, Hannah, you need to be careful. Because you calling this girl your best friend. And she gave him all the energy he needed.
I hope he end up with her.
I do too. Somebody said, I can't wait to the reunion because I hope he walks in the door. Because
what she think is also, and this is so fascinating, this like blonde hair thing is really fascinating because it has been the standard of beauty for so long that you can actually not be a good looking blonde woman and still think you are the best looking thing. It is the most.
And maybe that's really
and black women need more of that. Like, you know what I mean? Because I think
black women need to wear more blonde, period.
Well, no, that's not what I said.
Oh, okay.
That's actually not at all what I said.
I love it. I think it's such a great look.
No, that's
Speaking of starting 5, Savannah is all up in that thing. She got the blonde the whole time.
She really is just awesome. But she a Virgo.
It's such a look. The other day, Zar comes downstairs. We going to the coffee shop. She has this stark blonde wig on, and I was like, I was startled. I was on a call, and I almost forgot to mute the call because I'm like, I love this. Like, it's such a look. Black blondes are better than white blondes.
Is that like
they are the black blondes are the quintessential blondes, and I think we need to normalize that.
Okay, we'll take that take for today. So yeah, let's check. I'm off Hannah. I think she's a terrible human. I hope Nick get all the bad bees.
He is.
I hope he get all the baddies. Okay?
He gonna get the
I wish all the bad
her best friend.
on
He's gonna get her best friend.
And
she's
I hope
in his DMs right now.
I hope so. And hopefully he done got himself a place by now. Let's talk about Ramses and Marissa.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Marissa is like really like the breakout star for me.
Yeah,
she is like really grounded and really, really like I love Ashley, but I think that's like a natural connection.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
And I think that Marissa is like one of those that kind of grows on you.
Yeah.
And it almost feels deeper to me because I just appreciate who she is as a human and how she shows up. In these last few episodes, we see her meet her family, and you get a better idea of who she is and where she comes from. And she comes from Ursula, the ocean queen. Yeah. She's a villain. Her mother is an actual Disney villain.
She's terrible. I'm really.
Her mother called her the B word.
Yeah, in public.
Her
mother's a terrorist, and I can see why she ended up being such a good person. Sometimes the apple falls very far from the tree, and you can see like why and how.
Yeah.
Like sometimes somebody's upbringing can cause them to be more like the trauma that they experience. And sometimes it can cause them to be the complete opposite. And that's the dynamic here. But also it tells a story about how in the pods, people are just different people. And then you get to know them outside of all of, the cameras and everything like that in their regular life. I thought she calmed down when she got out of the pods and got home.
Yeah.
She has much more of a calming energy about her.
But also still light.
Very light. I didn't think this about her at all in the pods. I didn't really like her in the pods. And then she got home and it just felt like, lighter. But then also, depending on what spouse you're with, it brings you out of it. I think that her choice of Ramses brought that out of her because I thought she was putting on a lot in the pods.
Yes.
And I thought she was just more herself, more down to earth with Ramses outside of the pods. She's another one who is handling conflict extremely well.
Oh, beyond.
I like how she speaks to her husband. I like how she speaks to Ramses, her fiance. And I like the evolution of both of them. I didn't know that Ramses was an Imhotep. You know what I mean? I didn't know it, but I respect it, okay? it gets awkward.
It's so much about that really grinds my gears. And not because I can understand why he could have his feelings about, the Army, right? But I think in the presence of somebody who has been in the Army, Navy, Air Force, or served our country in whatever way, whatever the reason she had to make that decision to do that, it almost feels like a slap in the face that you would even continue to have these conversations with her like this.
I think low-key it is, because one part about the communication aspect of their thing is, once you communicate, most of the time when people, with all due respect, most of the time when people are joining the Army, most of the time, it's out of necessity.
Yes.
She made it very clear she didn't come from a great, wealthy home. She talked about how poor they were. And this is it. Most of the time, that's the situation.
And her mother told her to go to the Navy. Like, you need to go.
Right. Most of the time, it's out of necessity and hopes for a better life. She did it. Now, your gripe with the Army is your gripe with the Army and the institution, which I can respect. Like, full stop. I get it. But then to carry it on after understanding her story was weird to me. Because you understand that she didn't do it because she was a mega card carrying.
Right.
That's not why she did it. So she did it. She reaped the benefits of it. And now she's pivoting to a completely different area in her life. Yeah, she's
about to be an attorney.
About to be. Stop calling yourself a lawyer.
You're about to be. There are so many steps before you even get to. You can actually graduate from law school, have your Juris Doctorate, and still not be a lawyer.
You're not a lawyer yet, so slow up.
There's a bar you have to pass.
Because also respect to the actual lawyers. Like, you just can't just be calling yourself.
And there is a way that you are called something, and I cannot remember it, so somebody can bust down and tell me. When you don't actually pass the bar, but you have to pass the bar to practice law.
Yeah. Stop calling yourself a lawyer yet. But she's pivoting to a whole nother lifestyle. So it's not even like she's trying to continue this thing. And it just feels like for you to continue to carry this thing to bring it into your relationship, to make it an issue, it's really not an issue. She's not in the Army anymore.
Right.
She's not, and the reasons why she did it wasn't because she was so in love with the country that she wanted to die for it.
But that's the reason why, that is probably the least of the reasons why people decide to join the Army.
It's almost never the reason.
Right.
Like it's almost, no one ever joins the Army.
I know a ton of people who went to the Army.
Nobody I know went for that reason. Nobody I know.
And I do understand what he's trying to say, but then there's almost a lack of empathy for those who have to make that decision. Right. You know what I mean? And to be successful in it, we also are negating the fact all of the things and opportunities it provides for someone when they make that decision. It does feel arduous in the beginning, but they create a life for themselves that they probably did not foresee having.
But also, let's keep the problem the problem. They are not the problem.
But that part, and I think the way he speaks is pointed.
Yes.
And it can be taken as a dig, and that's exhausting. And I feel like he is emotionally exhausting. Which I thought it was going to be her.
I did too. I mean, the way that their dynamic
Even though I love her down, love you down, girl.
Honestly, I like them both. This bothers me because I think he's making a mountain out of a molehill and making an issue she's not the issue to me. Your issue is with the government, is with the institution.
Talk to them about it.
That's what I'm saying. I don't like that. The fact that, he's a card carrying Imhotep, I didn't know he had this much dark skin energy in him. I'm kind of like impressed.
Well, he came from a military occupied place. Venezuela does not have the best, what's the word I want to, relationship with the United States. So if he's been there during that time, that might be from his actual visual representation of what that looked like in real life.
And I appreciate that he's standing on it. Yeah. Right? But your wife is your fiance.
But that's your fiance.
Your fiance is not the problem.
She wasn't in there like.
Yeah, she's not the problem.
Stop it. And also, what he didn't get enough credit for was how he composed himself around that mama.
Because the mom is crazy, and I don't know that I would have been able to do it.
The mom is, and I mean this with all due respect, the mother is miserable.
She's miserable. And she's a walking trauma case.
Oh, it's just trauma all over that poor baby.
Dripping.
It's so
dripping
sad.
in it. It's scary.
She been let down by every man. Her father, her stepfather. So you've been let down.
Yeah.
And it's been a tertiary let down for her. Like, don't impose that on her.
Right, because she gives, she's just fighting the world back. And I'm talking about
the mother.
No. Marissa gives, she's turning the other cheek. She's been hit, she's been punched, but she's fighting the world back. She's seen disappointing relationships, but she still wants to be in love. Mm-hmm. She still wants to be in the world. She still wants to do these things. She has aspirations. Like you've clearly been beat up. And
no, you've been knocked down, dragged through life. You look like it.
You look like it. You sound like it.
You looking like you smoking the Newports down to the filters.
Yes.
Okay, the 100s.
And I think that do not pass this trauma on to your daughter. Just because you hate men don't mean that you got to raise her. Now she found somebody who she want to be with.
And she's very clear about that. And she is very like, I don't need
I don't care.
Approval to get married. Right. And I thought that like, oh girl, you eating this mother alive. Yeah. But that's also a testament to their relationship.
Yeah.
That she feels like she has to be, because her mother is very direct with her. We're getting this direct energy from Marissa to her mother, because in everything else, she's very affable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like she's like, okay, I can rock with you either way, until it's her mama and she get on her goddamn nerves.
Yeah. Yeah. The mom is really...
Even the kids at the table was like, all right, girl.
You could tell. They were low-key embarrassed by her.
They were.
The mom is a terrorist. And a lot of times, you can tell that a lot of their trauma is the terror that she imposed on them herself.
Oh, yeah. But he should have bought her like flowers or something. I didn't like that he didn't bring like flowers or something.
I think she's a terrorist, and it wouldn't matter what he did.
Oh, no. You're absolutely correct.
He'd have handed her the flowers. She'd have threw them on the ground, made a scene out of it.
What you think
she's just nasty. Yeah, she's just nasty.
Oh, you explaining marriage to me?
Yeah.
Ooh, girl, that's ugly. Ugly. Because I'm trying to sit here and you're sitting here and trying to get to know him, essentially. But go ahead.
But she's not trying to get to know. And that's what I didn't like about the exchange. She's not, in that moment, she's not trying to get to know him.
At all.
She just want to get her one-liners off.
How did you feel, moving on from this, we learned that Marissa is traveling back and forth 2 hours to get from Baltimore, go to law school in Baltimore, come on back down and film and do all the things and live in D.C. How did you feel about them speaking about intimacy and how he needs to be intimate in a certain way and she doesn't feel like, I mean, she's going through things. She's on her period. Yeah, she don't want to get on birth control.
This is growing pains. This is also a part of understanding your spouse and situational dilemmas, right? A dilemma and an issue that is much more about the moment in time than it is about the person. But if you don't know the person, you don't know that, right? So you have a real question in your mind, like, is this what it's going to be? Like Zar has times where she just doesn't want to be touched, or she just doesn't want to be intimate, or she just doesn't want to be close, right? But that's not a me issue, and it's not a her issue, right? But me finding, which I am a physical touch person, I'm a big intimacy, physical touch person. But if I don't know her, I don't have that to lean on. I'm leaning on the knowledge that this is a moment in time, she'll be back tomorrow or whatever, And if I don't know her, then I have questions like, is this what my life is going to be like? Like those questions become really big questions when you don't know the person.
But you don't think it's a lot. It's so funny how the thing is, I think that, men are from Mars, women are from Venus. I think that we think about things differently because I think if you understand, I get what you're saying, so I don't want to negate that, right? But I feel like we're talking about a young woman who is traveling 2 hours a day back and forth, right? So that makes her tired, full stop. Then she's like sick. She's on her menstrual. Like all of these things are happening. The idea that you would question, is it always going to be like that, is selfish. Because it's not even allowing her to be a human and have autonomy and to feel bad. Think of all the dynamics, everything that's going on right now. That don't cross your mind a little bit. It don't cross your mind that this girl just drove 4 hours. That's 2 hours back and forth, right? She just drove 4 hours to get back and forth home. She is on her cycle. She does not feel well. We're filming. Okay, she didn't want to give up no poo-poo. It's not like I haven't been intimate with her. I've been intimate with her, so I know that we're going to be intimate. Why would you even assign that to yourself?
I think you don't know what you don't know. And I think that a lot of times this comes down to a breakdown in communication. If they are only talking about these things on camera, or if they are not talking about these things at all, you're making conclusions, you're making assumptions.
But I think the problem is that women are in the world, and this is a lot of women's plight, not being seen. Men will literally see every day that you get up, travel 2 hours, you're cramped up, you're uncomfortable, you're not in your house, okay? You're sick, and then we'll try to make a situation like that about them. You understand what I'm saying? That's the bigger issue here.
I understand.
The bigger issue here is that she's not being seen.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I just think that
this is not a communication issue.
I think it's
you can't see her and not know that.
I think that the aspect of projecting has to do with knowledge. What they were talking about in the kitchen or wherever they was having this conversation was he was projecting. Like, I don't know if this is going to be a situation that comes from, to me, that sounds like a lack of knowledge. So to me, it sounded like manipulating because he has the knowledge. He knows he's in the house with her. He knows that she does not feel well. He knows that she is on her cycle. He knows that she's going back and forth to her. This is information that he has. No, I mean, as far as if I haven't been in spaces of conflict with you, I don't know how you handle conflict, right? So if you're sick and or something is happening from the outside world, I don't know how you handle it, right? Like, say something is stressing you out. Like, I can understand when you have a conversation with a family member, right? And it's draining to you. I already understand what the next couple of hours are going to be like, right? Just from familiarity, I know, like, okay, somebody done asked you for something, somebody done drain you in a certain way. So I know how you're reacting to that, and I know how to move about around that. That comes from a place of knowledge and experience. I've experienced you in these spaces, so I know how it's going to happen. I know how long it's going to last. I know the things that you might need for me to do in that moment. Like, to me, that just comes from a place of experience.
I feel like it's weaponized incompetence. I think that men go through the world and they do not have to see other people, and they just get to exist in a silo. And I think the truth of the matter is that you see this woman physically. We're not even talking about the mental piece, right? I'm not even getting there. I'm saying physically, you see this woman get up, drive 2 hours every day, come back to film. You see the toll it is taking on her. You know, because she explained this to you, that she's not feeling her best and all these things like that. And then you would want to have a conversation about being physical. Do you know what that does to a woman? Because now she like, if in every situation I have to show up like a blow up down for you, I'm not going to be able to do that. There are going to be times where somebody needs to take care of me.
Right. And I just think they haven't been through any of these times before.
But what I'm saying is, you're absolutely correct. But I also take that as a pink flag.
Red flag.
Because to me, it's like that. It doesn't take you having to go through that with me in order for you to be empathetic. You don't have to do it with me. I don't need to be sick to understand that when you're sick, you need certain things from me.
No. Right. I don't think that.
If that makes sense.
I don't think that a lack of empathy in these moments is okay. I think that that's an issue in itself. I'm speaking to the projection and the questioning of what it'll look like in the future or whatever.
I think even to ask those questions are so premature.
I just think, yes, it is, which full stop, I agree. I just think you don't know.
He just may be communicating the thoughts that he's had.
Yes. And I think when you don't know a person, they're real thoughts. Whether you should be having them or not, they are real thoughts. If I haven't been with you when you've experienced a big loss, I don't know how you're going to handle that loss.
But we don't know how we're going to handle these things, right? That's the thing. Knowledge is power, but some things you just got to go through together.
Oh, for sure.
And I feel like, of course you don't know that. We've experienced a lot this year that we didn't expect to experience.
Right.
And I had no idea how you would show up.
Right. But
I'm just like, I just got to trust.
But you wouldn't be wrong for projecting. I don't know if he's going to, I don't know how he was going to handle this. I don't know. Like, you know what I mean? Because it was a lot of the trauma that we went through this year was new trauma. But that's what I'm saying.
I don't think that. I think where we may be missing each other is I wouldn't make that an indictment on you.
No, not at all. And I don't think that it should be.
And I think that that's the difference. Like, it would kind of be like, I would still have grace for the situation.
Oh, yeah.
And when I speak about weaponizing competence, it's a complete lack of the circumstances and just how I'm feeling.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I know it's a complete lack of the circumstances where I don't think that you or I have operated in that manner. Like, we understand the circumstances. We've gotten into arguments. And then I've been like, we're having a week. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think this is about me. And I don't think this is about you. You know what I mean?
Right.
And we just need to keep the problem. So it's like, I get what you're saying. And it's not a red flag to me. It's just a pink flag. But that was one of them. Because the other one was the conversation around birth control. The next thing Marissa and Ramsey are having conversations about is birth control.
Yeah.
And what I appreciate about them is that they're having real grown-up conversations.
And that's for the whole season, man. I just feel like it's refreshing to just see people tackle real life stuff and not be talking about some silly stuff.
And so it's funny because you and I have also had this conversation before about birth control. And Ramses says that she says she's not getting back on birth control. And he says, well, he does not want to put on a condom. And he wants sex to be enjoyable for him as well, which is wild. But whatever. But so she says, that's fine, but I'm not getting back on birth control. You got to figure out whatever it is you want to do kind of thing. So I wanted to know, what was your take on this?
It's a real conversation. Like I say, it's refreshing to see people handle, because they're not the first couple in the world to have this conversation. Okay. And I think we see so many trivial arguments and things like that happen on TV, and it's not enough of just real people dealing with real stuff, right? They're at an impasse because she's at a place with, her birth control and her health where she doesn't want to do it anymore, and rightfully so. He's at a place where he's like, that's going to alter sex, which makes sense because it does. And it's just a real conversation to have. But I appreciate that they handled it respectfully. Like, I don't feel like any of these couples that are having these conflicts are doing a piss poor job of handling them.
Outside of Hannah. Not Nick, though.
Not Nick, but outside of Hannah. Like, it feels like she's saying her plight. He's respectful and understanding to it. He says his plight. She hears him and respectful to it. I don't know where they ended up.
I don't either.
I don't know where it ended up, but I just respected how they handled the conversation.
I think that if you're a person with a vagina out there and you're listening and if you do not want to get on birth control, don't do it. It's your body.
And she's not.
People don't.
I don't think she.
Yeah, and I think what is very clear is that in the same way that women don't understand what it's like to be a man would never understand what a woman's body goes through when we put those certain things in our bodies, or having a baby or anything for that matter. And I feel like you do have to, if that's a decision you can stand 10 toes down on. Like, no, you figure it out. Because the truth of the matter is, y'all don't got the sense that good God gave you. Y'all should have vasectomies anyway. But that's just men should just have vasectomies and have to get them reversed when they want to have a baby. Period. Because it's too much talk about a woman's body. And it's so weird to me because he is also very progressive. So for him to kind of like push back on her not wanting to do those things. And so there's two parts to this. Part of me feels like he's pushing back because he doesn't want to get pregnant too soon. And he knows that she doesn't have the same timeline that he does.
Yes. And I think that's where the impasse is, truthfully.
Yeah. But they're not saying that out loud.
They're not saying that, but that's why when I say I miss the experts, that's what I'm talking about, because I feel like somebody coming at the situation from a professional capacity will eventually uncover these layers and get to the crux of it. And that's really what it is, because it's very clear that the impasse isn't sex or how good the sex feels. It's she's okay if she gets pregnant.
And that's what
he is not okay if they get pregnant. And that's really what's at the heart of this. Also a real conversation, but it's really what's at the heart of it.
And also a real misunderstanding. I think that people so often, communication is what you say, what you meant to say, and what the person heard, right?
Right.
And I think that sometimes we're communicating in ways. We just had a argument, and Joe wanted to say something to me, and I think he thought in the moment it would go further. So he just kept trying to drive one point home versus just saying, when I have conversations like this with you, I feel like you make it about me and not about the problem. And I feel like it was like we were going all over the world versus just saying, like, I said that and I'm trying to get away from it because of this. You know what I mean? And I feel like that's what they're doing. I feel like they're trying to get away from it by holding their ground on whatever stance, but not actually talking about what. And they kind of danced around it, like they hit it, but I don't think he drove his point home that, like, it needs to be between 3 and 5 years. It's not a want from me. Like,
and this is one of those things where, especially as a new couple, you don't necessarily have the tools to navigate an issue like this.
That was a big conversation.
It's a very big conversation. There's a lot of hot button personal issues. A lot of things that are very much so you're entitled to. Both parties. You're entitled to what you want to do with your body and how you want to navigate what you put in your body. But you're also entitled to having a say as to when you pumping out a kid as a man or a woman. You know what I mean? And so I think that it's just a big nuanced conversation. And I would implore these type of new couples, I wish they would have somebody help them to navigate this stuff.
Because these even people if it's just advice. Successful.
Yeah, because even if it's just advice, even if they just get on the phone, even if it's not a sit down counseling session, even if it's just understand this, or you know what I mean?
Yeah, because these couples could absolutely positively be successful. Yeah. I see it for them, and I see it from Marissa and Ramses. Now it ends this episode ends with them at an impasse. He's unsure. He has a lot of questions that are still outstanding, and she has a lot more faith in this process and them choosing each other that it seems that he does.
Yeah.
But what do you think? Do you think that they get married? Do you think that they won't?
Man, I don't know. Like, I want them. I think if you're asking me whether I think that they can make it, my answer would be yes.
Me too.
Do I think that they will get to the end and say yes? I'm really unsure about that, because I think that she's 10 toes down, but I think that he's questioning things a lot, especially after these big conversations.
Because he's been married before, so it's like, if this don't work, I'll be working on a third.
Because I think that also causes some people to be very much closed off about, what they are willing to bend on, or what they're willing to have a conversation on. It's almost like you can see the trauma jump up on the screen and like, no, I'm not doing that because I did it before. You know what I mean? And he never said that, but it's very evident that, like, he's coming from a place of, I did this before, I'm not doing this again. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. And so it just feels like he's a lot more nervous or scared about entering to this process. So I'm not sure whether he is going to go through with it, but I think he should, because I think Tulum, she's very well spoken. She communicates well.
She's beautiful.
She's respectful. And have you been outside? Like, you ain't gonna find that.
She's worldly.
Yes.
I
she's
agree.
She's intelligent.
I agree. I really like Marissa.
You're just not. Don't go back outside, bro. Whatever it is that y'all going through, you can make it. because she's that type. She just comes off as that type of person who you can figure it out with. You can figure it out. Because even when y'all had the conversation about the birth control, she never got like, I'm not doing this. No. It's my body, my choice. Like she never even like went off on a deep end with you. She was just like, okay. You know what I mean?
She even said,
you're just not going to find it everywhere.
She doesn't believe that like every year is going to be a happy year. And not that like. Which also tells me that she has the stomach, because we talked about this a while ago, that she has the stomach for marriage, that she has the stomach to be in real relationship. Because when she said, I'm down to be, if I got to be down 5 years, I'll be down 5 years. That just told me she has the stomach for this. Period. Michelle Obama said she said a lot of y'all don't know what it's like to be unhappy for 10 years. Yep. 10!
Because y'all only see the results. Y'all only see the upside and not the grind that it took to become Michelle Obama, the first lady. You don't become a first lady without going through some stuff.
Hell yeah.
Or being on a back burner. It. You can't run for president and your relationship be first. It just can't happen.
Right. And she had to be.
But y'all want to be the first lady. But y'all don't want to ever be. Everybody is.
I can't. I cannot. But so let's talk about somebody who is not putting anything on the back burner. He done burnt everything down to the ground. Let's talk about Tim and Alex. We're gonna end on Tim and Alex because this was really fascinating to see. What's more fascinating to see is how you all are digesting Tim and Alex online.
Because it's not fascinating for me. I'm bored by it. This is a age-old story about people having different energy for the behavior of men online versus women online. It's the age-old story.
Which I think there are spaces where men have to act differently than women.
Of course.
But I do think you're absolutely...
But not in the area of piss poor behavior.
But I think...
Piss poor behavior is piss poor behavior. And y'all will continually show up online and never hold people accountable in the same way when it comes to how they treat their spouse, how they talk to their spouse, how they show up for their spouse. Y'all will be irate for the same situation that if it was reversed, it would be no question about it.
Leaving Mexico, Tim is resolved in the fact that him and Alex are going to work these things out, right? They're like, okay, yes, you mushed me in my face. Yes, you was disrespectful. Yes, you called me out my name. But
another example of my plight.
What plight?
About how y'all don't keep the same
energy. I'm about to say that. That's your plight.
No. I'm saying about how y'all don't keep the same energy with these women who in their piss poor behavior. But if it was a man that mushed her, covered her mouth while she was talking, and y'all would be done. Y'all be dragging him. It would be a hashtag with he ain't.
But let me not say mush. I think if you put your hands on me, period, it's a problem. What I mean is that she put her hand over his mouth. So I want to be clear. But I think that...
But she could have mushed him. And people, there's a certain demographic online who still wouldn't have an issue with it. That's what I'm saying.
I don't think you should have... That's just one thing that she did. And I think that, like, when we're talking about this... It's almost like childish for y'all not to understand where this grown man is coming from. And this really been sitting on my heart because I be talking to women and y'all really be wanting somebody who heavy. Like, and when I say heavy, when me and my girlfriends talk about heavy, I mean like got it going on. He got his ownness. He owned his home. He done traveled all over the world. He gainfully employed. He get money. He a good looking guy. He tall. He's heavy. Y'all will want a heavy dude and then don't know how to act. And that's just weird to me. You want to do little person stuff and it's weird. Like, my thing is, it's no world where you thought it was okay to touch a man you do not know. And I mean that, like, given the circumstances, by this time you have known this man 1 week. You're going to, if he hauled off and bust you in your head, what are we going to do? What are we going to say? He could have took that as you aggressing upon his mammy tat in person. That's why we shouldn't be putting our hands on one another. And I feel like we're missing these big chunks to cape for a young woman who deserved to me another chance. That's my truth, right? But everything Tim said made sense.
Everything he said made sense. And the truth of the matter is, you hit the nail on the head when you talked about somebody showing up a certain way requires you
to show up a certain way.
And that's the part that y'all don't want to. Y'all don't.
Y'all want to be. He's not that kind of guy.
This is an accountability thing, and this is a reciprocal thing. Like y'all, she was absolutely right when you mentioned about people wanting a certain caliber of partner means that you have to then show up to a certain level. And for some reason, it's lost on a lot of singles.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Where you'll want that partner, but you don't. It doesn't, for you, it doesn't mean.
But that don't mean you got to level up.
It doesn't mean that you have to level up. It doesn't mean that you have to show up.
Because you think in your mind you're there.
Yeah, which is crazy. It's wild to me.
This man has sat down, crossed his mammy tap legs, thigh meat showing, and aired you out every chance he could get.
Yeah, and respectfully so. Well said, well delivered. So, like, I think that there is a tug of war between a lot of people, especially online, with being able to rise to the standard that you yourself require. You yourself require of these men to be, a certain height, of a certain, economic background, and to look a certain way, and to do a certain way, and deliver a certain way. But these type of men have expectations.
Period, Joe.
Y'all are not ready to have the conversation where you are not ready to meet these expectations. And if you're not ready to meet the expectations, move on, go about your business. But they can't be wrong for moving on and going about their business when they feel like you are not ready to meet their expectations. If you set the table for your husband's parents to come, you set the table to host, you was outside grilling in 100-degree weather or whatever the circumstance was, and then your man came in the house and went to sleep, you would be pissed. You would be so pissed. And the amount of women online who try to contorting themselves into a pretzel as if they don't understand his plight just shows about the lack of accountability.
It's weaponized incompetence.
Just the lack of accountability.
You know that it's crazy. Wrong. You know that it's wrong. Let's take a step back. Tim decides that they're going to move forward. They do. They have a lovely day. They move on to meet her family, her mother and her father. And a very beautiful moment brought Joe to tears, which I wanted to ask you, why do you think when he was talking to Alex's dad that moved you so much?
Well, because I have an appreciation for familial love. Like, if you know me, I can't even talk about my parents without, I won't even talk about them. You know what I mean? Without, getting emotional. But then I also just appreciate, I was embraced by my wife's family so much. So I have such a deep love for them, especially her parents. You know what I mean? As wild as her mom is, I love her to death. You know what I mean? And her dad, as much as a no nonsense hard ass he is, the way that I love him to death, but I can feel that he loves me to death. And it touches me when I don't see it often. You know what I mean? And so when I see it out in the world, it really, especially amongst these type of people, you know what I mean? My own people, it's really touching because so many times we watch these shows and we get up and everybody is saying some dumb stuff for the cameras. What are your intentions with my daughter?
Yeah.
I'm a level 6 in jujitsu. You know what I mean? I'm a black belt. Everybody is trying to be hard and saying some whack stuff. And it really is just corny to me. And I really appreciate people who just embrace, their loved one's spouse and really just seeing the melding of families, and then seeing the dad get emotional, especially because it hit home because the dad got MS, was it?
Yes.
Was it MS? And so my mom has MS. My mom and my uncle has MS. And so even seeing that,
like Uncle Craig.
I know. And so even seeing that was very touching for me because it just hit home in a different way. The mortality of it and being able to experience, your daughters or your sons, time of matrimony and being able to embrace their their partner coming into your home and things like that. It's just really special to see, especially when you think about the mortality of your parents. You know what I mean? And having sickly parents, like I have both my parents. It's just constantly in and out of the hospital. And so even that, like, you know what I mean? Like I worry about my parents becoming grandparents because of my mom got MS and my dad got everything. You know what I mean? Right. So I worry about that. So just seeing that was just and how warm her dad was and everything like that, it was just touching. Yeah.
It was really nice to see. And I thought it was nice of him to get up. He said he got up, went out, got the food, cooked the food.
Brought the food back.
Plated it. She gonna say, do you want to make them a plate? Are you crazy? What are we even saying here? Bought it back. Like, it's just like...
Y'all have a different... The way that y'all have this lack of accountability is really fast. It should be studied.
It should be... You couldn't have possibly thought in your beautiful brain that this man who has created a life for himself wouldn't want the type of woman who would come in and do certain things to make his life
keep the same energy,
feel soft and easy, and like, you can't think that. But honest to God, Joe, and y'all not gonna like to hear this, and this might sound real bad, but the reason why I think I've dated the men of the caliber that I have dated is because I get that. Like, I know how to come into the room and make it feel like something. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I think sometimes we all think we're owed things that we are not. You know what I mean? And I think that...
But it's a crazy sense of entitlement, and that's what we talked about
a wild sense of entitlement
in the beginning of this whole segment, about how you want your spouse, your man, to come in and be all these things, but you don't think you got to be those things. That's the entitlement.
But then we will have these conversations with women who are like, I do this and I bring this to the table and I bring that to the table and I bring that to the table. But you're not a soft place to land.
Because not even that. Nowadays, it's, well, look at me. It's just all looks. Everything is led by your look. You think because you got a BBL that some man is supposed to just show up in a 360-degree way in your life, and all you got to do is show up with your body from Cancun or whatever.
And we're talking about like a man who really got, and I'm not saying, and this is not a dig. Yes. This is more like, and I'm not saying that y'all got to go in there being Susie Homemaker. I'm saying that y'all lack finesse. And y'all lack finesse because everything y'all do is based on a profile that somebody presented to you, and you don't even have to have it. Everything, you know what I mean? Like,
but you have to be a partner. You have to be a teammate, and that's what we're speaking to. The lack of teammate-ness that's in y'all, especially in the social media space, is really wild, because of being a teammate will look very different for different relationships, right? It might not mean that I bring home the bacon and then you cook the bacon. It might mean I bring home the bacon and you put a garnish on the bacon, and then you talk to everybody in the room that's eating the bacon, because I need you to
be that person. But for some of us, like, I know in our house, it does look like you bring home the bacon, I'll cook the bacon, or whatever the case may be. But that's what it looks like in our home. And to your point, partnership looks different for different people. But I can tell 50 miles away what kind of woman that man wants.
Oh, 1,000%.
It doesn't, y'all can't think specific, and I'm saying this specifically to black men. That's a population that y'all saying got nothing. Mm-hmm. You going on the internet, people like, if he ain't a basketball player, this or that, don't nobody want to even deal with him, okay? Yeah. Oh, you the bus driver, I don't even want to be bothered. We talking about a man who get government contracts, he in cybersecurity or whatever the hell he in, and
living in DC or
own his home, and y'all can't understand why this man has issue with, or he looking at you like, you couldn't be the woman that I want, because the woman that I want would be like, not only is she going to be the one who go to the store to get the food, I might barbecue it up and do all these things, but we're working together.
And she's going to have a mouthpiece. She's not going to be asleep. She's going to be up talking to my parents for 10 hours, because that's the other part that he would expect. Being an intellect. He's obviously in that space. He is an intellect who wants to be with a woman who is also carrying the same mantle. You can't be surprised by that.
But I want you to carry the same burden. Do you think if your family was there for 10 hours,
right,
his day started in the morning? The problem is that the way y'all seeing it is like, oh, he just, all he did was talk to her dad for a few hours. But no, his day started far before then.
Right.
When he was trying to make it comfortable for her parents
right.
in order to meet them. His day started far before them. This is weaponized incompetence. Two things is happening here. Virgo men are terrorists, and I told y'all that in the last episode, okay? So I knew this was coming because Virgos are no nonsense. I don't have the time to explain to you why this is some bull, because you know. And then you want to get up on the internet and do all these mouthing and all that Milli Vanilli bullshit. And it is, though, because it's real whack, high key. and then we supposed to believe he was the problem, when in truth, not only did you disrespect this man, you put your hands on this man. I don't give a damn if you didn't slap him in the face. You put your hand on a grown-ass man, that's a problem. You called him out his name. He still came back and was like, you know what? It was a hot moment. He goes out, gets all this stuff, steaks and chickens, for you and your parents. Sits down and says this lovely thing to your father. You don't even wash the mammy tapping dishes. We see you ask this man to make a plate. You want to make them a plate? I saw you say it. Then you don't even wash the dishes. He bring all the stuff back to the room. He turns around, washes the dishes. You can't understand in your brain why that would upset him. You then meet his family, who has been traveling for 10 hours. They drove 10 hours to come and meet you. You don't think they tired? Do you know how disgusting? Even the conversation around it, the idea that you wouldn't simply have been like, you know what, babe?
Yeah.
The problem is that all it required from you is to be like, you know what? You're right. Because the truth of the matter is, do I think Alex got a lot going on? I could tell by the way her house looked. And you want to know how I know that?
Ooh, that was scary.
I'm being for real.
Yeah.
I know you got a lot going on, baby. You don't have to. You didn't even have to tell me. And I know that because if you go up in we got 5 bedrooms. I got 3 bedrooms right now that look a mess. Okay? And that's because I'm going through something. And this is the last thing on my mind right now, right? So I get it. But for you to not understand where that man was coming from after he said, y'all trying to make, he just traumatized about his sisters. This ain't got shit to do with his sisters. This has everything to do with how you showed up as a woman.
Yeah.
Do I think he took it too far, Alex? Yes. Do I think he needed to leave a relationship? No. I thought that was too much.
But I think that had the shoe another on the other foot, any decision that you wanted to make, Alex, everybody would have rolled with it. You know what I mean? So I'm gonna ride.
We know
with
that
it too.
Because you decided not to wash the dishes. You took a nap in the midst of. This is the first time. But even how you described it, the way I know that you didn't have he read the situation right is how you described it. Yeah, I was talking to them for 4 hours about you and about what they want me to be to them.
Yeah.
Not like I'm having 4 hours of conversation getting to know them, learning more about you. That's not what you said. You felt it was exhausting because it wasn't about you. Because it wasn't
about you. And the conversation wasn't palatable to you. So you wanted to eject yourself. And to me.
And he called it.
And he was well within his rights to feel however he felt. Because I think if the shoe was on the other foot, we would say the same thing. We would take the same position. And I think that so many people don't want to be held accountable and don't want to rise to the occasion and match the same energy of the things that they are asking for.
Literally.
Because take him out of it, anybody who comes from the background that he comes from, who is showing up in the way that he's showing up, anybody will have expectations of you to show up as your higher self in the same way that they are. And if you cannot see that, then I'm sorry, you're lost.
But I also could tell you were apathetic when you were talking to the parents.
Yeah.
Nothing about the way you were talking to them seemed engaging.
No.
And you could be, Alex, on whatever journey you are personally on. It looks to me like something else is happening in your brain. Like you just thinking about other things. You know what I mean? Because I feel like when you interact with him, it looked like that.
Right.
Like you're just somewhere else. But that's not a him issue.
No.
You had his parents, I thought, were such, mind you, they've been together this whole time, right? So the way his mother even spoke about the process, like, listen, it's not that far-fetched to me that you would meet somebody like this. I don't think the time matters. This is somebody who would be supportive of not only him, but you as well. And you can't see how important it would be to him as their only child left.
Yeah.
You don't see how important that is?
Yeah.
It's really odd to me that you people are online talking about, oh, Tim is crashing out. Tim did write some things on his Instagram. And personally, I don't think he needed to do that. But he was getting a lot of flack about his sexuality, which is wild because what about him even give you?
Well, it's weaponized. Like, it's so funny because, you know, especially in the black community, we make it so that we like to put on, you know, oh, well, we support this and we support that. And then the first insult that's hurled towards a black man that they don't like is he's gay.
Yes, but y'all y'all such an ally.
Y'all such allies, and we so progressive. But the first time that there's a conflict with a black man, especially if he don't like you or he leaves you for some reason, oh, he gay. It's so crazy, especially online. It's like a big thing. It's like a big thing.
And I'm saying this from coming from a strict household. My husband is strict. Okay. My husband is no nonsense. You're not going to talk to him any whole kind of way. We ain't going to be doing this and that. So when I'm seeing in the comments like, oh, he's strict, he heavy, he moving the world a certain way. Of course he's disciplined. Look at his life.
Yeah.
And not to say that you got to be but the idea that you think you're going to come up here on some rah-rah stuff
that's the
and
delusion.
I built all this.
That's the delusion. People think that they it's so funny. It's so lopsided how so many singles think I require all of this. And a laundry list, the list will be long like a CVS receipt. And it'll be like, I want him to do all of these things. And this is how long the list is. And then when it comes to them, it's like a blank slate. Like, I just have to be pretty. Yes. Y'all are crazy. Y'all will be alone.
And that's the dynamic now.
It's really crazy.
And honestly,
because it's not real life. These men that you want that are so well spoken and well educated and financially
cooking
stable,
dinners and doing all,
you can't just be pretty.
You
just can't. I don't know what y'all to tell.
And some people, let's be for real, there's a population where you can, right? It's very
small. It's like this big.
That's the truth.
So we shouldn't even acknowledge it because it's the 1% of the 1%.
That's a good point.
The majority of these men want you to come to the table and present and hold up your end of the bargain just like they do. And your end of the bargain might not look. It might not be a recipient. Most of them don't care if you make the same amount that they make.
Right.
Most of them don't care if you've built a business. Like, most of them don't care about that, but they require certain things. And it's just funny to me how when those things are required and they don't like it, y'all have an adverse reaction to it. Mm-hmm. Or he's gay.
Right.
It's like, that can't be the...
Which he not.
Oh, he's gay.
But y'all always talking about standing on business. That's all he did.
That's all he did.
And you're going to respect me. And furthermore, you're going to respect my parents.
Yeah.
Like, the idea that these people drove.
Yeah.
And you can't understand why he would be annoyed that you felt like... When I tell y'all, Joe's family comes to the West Coast every year for the holidays. And am I not on 1,000? Literally between the 22nd and like the 29th of December, I'm on 1,000. Now, I might shut everything down after that.
Yeah.
But that's because I know, one, they don't always get the opportunity to come.
Yeah.
And they may not always be, you know what I mean? Like, I'm going to make sure I'm going to cook everything, and I do everything in almost to my deficit. But that's because I want y'all to feel this is how I show love.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, y'all presence is here. Y'all showed up for us, and I'm going to show up for y'all.
And it's also a temporary time. When we go to us, family members' house and stuff, we don't feel like, but we already know we got one more day.
Right.
You know what I mean? And we got to be on. We got to be outside and 100% for one more day. And then we come home and we don't talk to anybody for 48 hours.
No, literally.
But we know it's because we know that this is a temporary amount of time. We're only going to be here but so long. And vice versa. When they come to us, it's the same way. So it's just like, to not understand his plight is immaturity to me.
And Period. Because also not to understand how important it is to hold space for family, and a family that's been traumatized so much.
Right.
Is also a lack of like.
Right.
Because if we
Big
even, y'all missing out on that too, right? Not everybody like, oh, he just want her to be the daughter. That's what he said. No, he said in the same way that I'm going to be ushered in as this man's son, she'll be ushered in as a daughter to these people. Not to replace the people that laid up under his mother's heart, but to be somebody who is a part of him.
Right.
How don't y'all see that?
Y'all would have seen it if he was a her.
It's
really
just
the social media space. Like, it's just.
But this is why black men date white women.
Because y'all will get in the social media space and drag this mug to the end of the earth for the same standards that you would require of him if him was a her.
Y'all ain't never met, but this how I be. But Joe, this is what I be saying when I say, I could tell y'all ain't never been taken care of. When I say that, I be meaning like, I could tell y'all never been with a grown ass man.
Yeah.
Because when you with grown men, it's certain things you're not doing.
And showing up isn't a foreign thing for you.
What?
You can tell it's very foreign. Especially, I can tell that y'all haven't been in real relationship and real partnership the way y'all comment on some of these scenarios, because you've never been required to show up.
Joe, he would have told me that they was driving 10 hours. You know me, I'd have had the home imitation day plan. Okay, we can do this. There's a pumpkin patch around the corner. I could do this. I could do that.
I think some of y'all are very comfortable in the struggle plight. Like, I almost think you thrive in it and you don't even really want to be on the other side of that because that will require you to show up differently. So it's almost comfortable for us, many of y'all in the social media space, to be like, oh, you know, I'm just staying with my options because, you know, men ain't shit and this, that, and the third. Because if you continue to date ain't shit men, you yourself don't have to show up. You understand?
Oh my goodness.
And I think for a lot of people, it's comfortable. It's comfortable for you to, because once that veil is ripped apart from you, now you have to like be a partner.
What's sad to me is that social media has made it so that we can almost double down on the bad behavior.
Yes.
Versus her just being like straight up like, I was going through some things then. You know what I mean? And inversely, to get a little bit on Tim, he should have noticed that.
Yeah.
It's a lot going on for her as well. You know what I mean? That's why I don't think that ending it should have been the way that we went with this. I think he was right to bring it up and just drive it home.
But it sounded like ending it was much more about another straw on the camel's back than it was this situation.
Yes, he was thinking about it more holistically.
He was tired. Period.
Which when you're in a marriage, you got to think about things one by one.
Yeah.
You can't just keep letting things, because if you allow it to pile, then it will.
Because it was clear that it piled up for him. He was like, you know what? I never need to see you again. Respectfully.
When he said, I said, is that not me? Do I not be hitting people with the straight in the face? Like, I'm going to look you dead in your eyes and tell you, I don't like you. I think you're ugly. Your mother ain't shit. You ain't shit. And I don't know what to tell you. I have nothing else to give. When I mean he was giving straight up big Virgo energy.
100%.
Joe was like, oh my God, I'm the same. When he said it, I said, oh my God.
Yeah, no, he was straight up.
But I told y'all these Virgo men be terrorists. Y'all don't listen. And when I called the avoidant thing in the beginning, I also called that. Because this is a situation that could be fixed. He just has no grace to give. And that's part by she hasn't created equity. Yeah. Imagine I'm meeting your family and you think it's okay that I'm going to the market and get... You don't help me. When she said, you going to make the plate, I thought, oh. And I am a trad wife. So I want to say that too, right? Like, I am very traditional, and I believe in traditional roles in a very and I have modern moments. Like, I think that, like, you know, if you're the person who's the breadwinner, or if I'm the person who's the breadwinner, we make some concessions. But for the most part, I'm very, very, very traditional. Like, I'm very like, I'm taking care of the home. I'm taking care of.
But I wouldn't even call it traditional as much more as I would call it team oriented partnership.
Yeah. And
I think that partnership, the aspect of that is being lost on a lot of the singles, the modern day singles. And if I'm being frank, like the modern day single women, partnership is lost on them. Everybody wants this statuesque picture of perfection, but it's only focused on them.
I think it's the chicken or the egg.
It has nothing to do with yourself or what you bring or what you how you accompany them or how you enhance them or what you will create in the future, the foresight of it. We talk to a lot of singles and in particular single women have this thing where it's not this, it's very much in this very narrow silo of like, this is what they have to be, irregardless of where I am and what I do and what I would attract. And it's like, none of that matters. And it's very weird.
And it's a so modern clear thing. Y'all are successful.
This is not a thing that I feel like what's happening like 20 years ago.
But I also think you could be successful in life and unsuccessful in love. I think that, and I think that we're having a hard time holding the two.
Yeah.
Because we believe but this is the app culture, right?
Yes.
Because I get your profile, right? And I'm looking at your profile, you're looking at my profile. You don't measure up, Hannah, right? So then all of these intangible things we don't even get to know or get lost because we're looking at it from this, you know, whatever is on this little screen. He's this, he's that, he owns this, he does that, right? And we lose so much of it. And I think that I think it's the chicken or the egg because some way, somehow, men and women have stopped meeting each other. Yeah. And working on things and just working stuff out. And part of it is that it's gotten so insidious, nobody wants to work anything out.
Yeah, and it's like you're so focused on what their list is. Because, okay, let's say you've checked off the list of what he does for work and all of these things. He don't care what you do for work, so now what?
I don't think women even understand that.
Now what? When we get to relationship, all the things that you've done and the things that you've built, because we're talking about Alex and Tim.
And that's what I think
he does not care what you do for work. So his list doesn't look like your list. He can care less what your title is. He just wants you to help him put these ribs on the grill.
And he gives.
That's the disconnect.
Old school.
Yeah.
He's 32 years old and got all this going on for himself at 32. He give like he drinking, smoking cigars and drinking scotch and all that. He's 32.
But he is 42.
That's what I'm getting at, right?
He has a very
so
old
imagine
soul.
being that big grown and you got to tell a bitch to wash the dishes.
Because I think so many people think, well, my resume looks like his resume, so now we're equal.
Yes, that's exactly it.
That's not.
That's exactly it.
That's not it, y'all gonna learn the hard way.
That's exactly it. So, Tim stood on Big Business. Tim wrote a diatribe on his Instagram. Everybody saying he crashing out. I'm gonna be honest with you, Tim. You did not need to write that. You'll go down in history as being on the right side of it. And even though I think you overdid it with, not wanting to be with her, I think this was something that could have been reconciled. I also understand completely. And I think that you're getting a bad rap online, and I don't like it. It's like, what are y'all watching? But it's also like, y'all are so single. Oh, he's strict. Who ain't got a husband? First of all, that's how I know you ain't got a husband.
No.
Ain't nobody got a husband that's laissez-faire.
But I think it's none.
It's boundaries.
But I think it's a comfortable place to be in a place where you're dating down. Oh. You can do whatever. You're not required. Nothing is required of you.
Rakeem from 119th Street ain't playing that shit either. The difference is that Rakeem is going to knock you between the headboard and the motherfucking bed.
But the difference is that Rakeem don't have a leg to stand on. He can't require anything of you if he don't got a pot to piss in.
And he still will. That's the problem.
But he might want to. But a lot of people are emboldened and to be like, I don't care what Rakeem thinks. Yeah. But you can't carry that energy over into Tim. You can't, because Tim will be like, respectfully, I don't want to ever see you again.
Crossed his leg like this, folded his hands on, and I said, I never want to see you again.
I never want to see you again.
She was in the midst of eating a chicken wing.
A whole plate of
with the mambo sauce. Talking about, I need naps. Go to sleep. Go to bed. Go to bed. Love you down, Alex. We wish you the best. Hope you get a man. I mean, not even hope you get a man, girl. Do your thing. Live your life. Screw men. But y'all done had me on here for 40 minutes caping for a man. I ought to beat y'all asses. Y'all know how I feel about men. I don't want to be caping for them too much. Thank you guys so much for joining us again. Make sure y'all bust in and tell us what y'all thinking, okay? I want the paragraphs. That's the ones I like, okay? Bust in, tell us what you're thinking. I'm your girl, Intisar Eleanor. This is my beautiful husband, Joe. This is the Conner's Couch, and we are getting out of here. Bye.